Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to show you a bush fix for a early Penn reel that has an issue with a spring that it's lost its tension. These are the flat springs that hold on the anti-reverse dog. And sometimes with reels this age you just have to get creative because, well, the parts are no longer available. And this one comes in from Jim from Virginia, and he said that he's lost his anti-reverse on this reel. Could I help him out? So we're going to do that. We'll show you how to take this reel apart, how to service it, and more importantly, how to do the bush fix to correct that anti-reverse issue. Well, we're going to start by removing the exterior pieces and parts. And as I do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like to learn about fishing reels, if you like to learn how to do it yourself in terms of the service and repair, or if you're just curious about the reels, when they were made and who made them and the histories of their company and the like. I try to intersperse a little bit about all of that, both vintage reels as well as more modern reels, and to try and cover a lot of ground here as I work on the reels that come into my shop. This is just an example of one of the ones that came in. This happens to be a vintage reel, but overall, well, you never know what's going to show up, so you really never know what the videos are going to be. This is a Penn Model 160. It's the Beachmaster. It's a nice reel overall. It was made in the 1950s. How do I know that? Well, that flat spring that I showed you before, that was discontinued in 1957. Parts have long been gone for that reel, but you can still find your way around in terms of fixing that without necessarily having that exact part. Well, we're going to clean this reel up a little bit. There's a lot of old dried grease on that, so the first thing I'm going to do is to use a little bit of some spray here, a little penetrating oil. That'll help me clean up the old spots. This is kind of pretty rough here in terms of wear. I'm going to use a metal polish. I'm going to use Total Wax's chrome polish and some 4-0 steel wool. Now, generally I don't use steel wool to clean the reels, but generally they're not pitted like this. So this will help remove at least a little bit of the older pitting on there. Just be careful if you use this, it will remove the chrome plating with the pitting. And well, I think you pretty much get the idea here. This is cleaned it up a little bit, but that's as far as we're going to go with that. This is a side plate bearing. It's also a spool adjuster. You can adjust your spool, moving that clockwise to tighten up the spool, slow it down from the spinning standpoint, and counterclockwise to loosen it up and let it spin freer. That's all about the casting. This one also has a little clip on it. I'm going to remove that clip. When I go to test this, I want to make sure that, well, I'm okay here. I'll give that back to Jim. I just don't like that on the reel itself as I work on those reels. Instead of just using that to clip it to the bar to hold that, I'm going to put a rubber band on here to hold the line in, and that'll keep it so that when I go to put the spool back in, that line doesn't jump out and trap itself inside the reel. Okay, well, that guy just wants to jump into this, I guess, huh? Alright, well, I'll just be a little bit careful as I go do that. Alright, that's aside. You can put a little dab of grease, use fishing reel grease. I'm using Penn Precision reel grease. And just set that back into the hole. This one seems like it might be a little bit over tightened there. It is over tightened. Wow. Not sure who had this, but this is totally over tightened. That off a little bit. All right, now we're in better condition with that. All right, let's go over, show you the what's going on inside the case, how this differs from the more modern Penn anti-reverses, and how to do that bush fix. There's 4 screws that are holding it on. 2 screws up top are partially threaded. 2 screws below are fully threaded. Remember that when you go to reinstall. The reason for the partial threads up top is because they're passing through the yoke springs, and well, if you only partially thread them, they're not going to snag on the threads of the screws, the bars of the spring. Alright, these 2 are fully threaded. This is your anti-reverse dog, which managed to come out with that. And your bridge is fallen in, which is why I cut my hand to do that. Because Jim has had this apart, we're going to just make sure that everything is done right here. It certainly doesn't look like it from what I'm seeing here. We have the washers and we have the drags kind of completely backwards here. That's not going to help the situation at all. So we have 3 drag washers, 3 metal washers, and a cap washer. And the 3 drag washers were on first. That's wrong. And then the 3 metals came on. So even if the anti-reverse was working here, well, it wouldn't produce any drag. All right, I'm just trying to find the pin for the post here. I use an awl to push that pin out. And we should be able to pull up and out on that. Probably needs just a little bit more of a tug to come out. And I do that because you want to clean that stem underneath. You can see this is an older model. It does have a little felt washer here that's going to hold the oil so that it turns easier. Take that stem off, apply a little bit of oil to the base. You can run a cotton swab through here just to make sure you clean up the old dirt. There was some old dirt in there. Then I generally like to put just a light coating of grease onto the stem, reinstall the gear sleeve, push that pin back in. You might need an assist from pliers, don't be afraid to use it. And when you put that back in, make sure that the little peg sits squarely so that you can clear it when you put the main gear back on. There is a hard washer that's next. That goes on the back end of this. And then you want to make sure that your main gear is clean. So I'm going to use a hard bristle brush to do this. Inspect all those teeth. If you see anything in there that looks like it's stuck, go ahead and use that same pick that you were using just to drag it through to clear the channels. And then we can re-grease this. Again, use fishing reel grease for that. The grease I'm using is Penn Precision Reel Grease. Then we can insert that on. Okay, these are Penn drag washers. They're the new HT100s. These are the original metal washers. That's fine. These are optional. You can either grease these or not grease these. So I'll show you how to grease them in case that's what you would like to do. Put a little bit of reel grease on there. Rub it in. Make sure you can see the cross hatching on it. And then that's the first of the washers. Well, as we mentioned, these metal washers were not set properly. You're going to have 2 that are rectangular, and we're going to alternate. We're going to do a drag washer and then a metal washer. Go grease the second one up, do the same thing. I wear that glove to protect my hand from it. Then the middle washer is the one with the big circle in the middle and the 2 studs. There are corresponding slots in this gear. So that's what goes next. You can see how they sit nicely in the gear on both sides. We got one more of the washers we'll grease. It's an iterative process. Rub it around. Make sure that you can see the cross hatching. The grease is to keep that washer flexible. It doesn't help in any other way. It just helps them keep them from drying out. This is the cap washer, and that goes on last. This is your anti-reverse dog. We're going to show you how to set that one in just a moment. Before we do that, we want to come over and clean the rest of this reel. You start by removing the jack that going to release that free spool. Then we have the yoke and the pinion gear. And we have those two springs we were talking about with the partially threaded screws. Just a quick clean of the case. This case does not look like it has any dry grease or dirt in there. But as a precaution and just to show you how to do it properly, we'll go do that. Again, some penetrating oil around that bearing. Clean up the rest of it. Wipe it down. And we're kind of ready to reinstall here. These two springs go in the holes that those screws are going to come out of. You want to take your fishing wheel grease and put a little bit of grease onto the bearing on the side plate and onto the eccentric that's going to flip. Clean out your yoke next. Sometimes you can just wipe it off with a paper towel like this time. Do the same thing with the pinion gear that you do with the main gear. Pull it through. Inspect the channels, make sure they're nice and clean. And put some grease there. These reels are terrific reels for inshore fishing or estuary fishing. It's called the Beachmaster. Doesn't go very deep in the water, but they are excellent reels. They will last a very long time with service. Parts for the most part are generally available. Unfortunately, with this reel, that dog is no longer available, and those flat springs are hard to find. Okay, going to insert the yoke into the slot of that pinion gear. The slot on the gear itself faces out. Center those over the springs and press down so that you can hook that jack over the eccentric, and that's your upper end of your case. Notice we have a post here. This little metal post is what's going to hold the flat spring. Alright, we didn't show you what we're going to do as a bush fix. The flat spring is no longer available. That one has lost its tension. Now, if you happen to know Mitchell 300 reels, you'll know that they use a flat spring as a tension on their reels. You can see we have the tension spring here. It's got a little hook because of the way that it works. So now I just want to find a little wire cutter or something just to take that little corner off there. Okay, with that corner off, I now have a flat spring with a lot of tension. That's the way it should look if it initially came with your set. And then we'll show you how to install that dog. You want to take the threaded section, the threaded screw, bring that in. Bring our bridge and assembly in. Rotate that about 90 degrees from where it's going to land. Hold everything firm. This is the top end of your dog here that's got the flat on it. It sits like that. Make sure it's behind that red washer that we installed. Now we just have to take this, not easy, take this, anchor it. You need to anchor it on top of the dog, around the post, and resting on the side plate. That's it. There you go. One tag end is resting on the dog, around the post, resting in the back. Lots of tension. This one is going to click, click, click when we finish the install. All right, I don't tighten it all the way, but I do tighten it down. And let's go to the parts tray that I'm using, and we'll take the other pieces. I'm going to use that pick again to align the top hole on the opposite side of where I just put the screw. That's going to enable me to keep the tension on that bridge plate. Again, I'm not tightening anything down at this point because you need a little play in that bridge to get all of the screws started. That's 3, one more over on this side. If you're having trouble, just turn the face of the reel around. Take a look at what's missing, where your alignment is, and so on. Now I can tighten them down, and in reverse order, we can put our collar on, and then we can put the star adjuster back on. That's as far as I will go with the piece. I don't generally put the handle on. I want to put the rest of this back on, and that handle sometimes can interfere with the screws in the case. I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to bring this to the cast position. Align the piece, and if I didn't mention it before, you have 4 longer screws and 2 shorter screws. If you were paying attention, the longer screws go through these cross posts here. The shorter screws go in the reel seat below. You'll also notice I have that paper towel on my desk here. That's to catch the dirt and keep it off so that it doesn't contaminate the next project on. Just like I did with that bridge, I want to go kind of furthest away screws. Keep the tension right. So we did the one, now we'll do the other. We'll come down with one of the shorter screws. And you can see these screws are noticeably shorter. Alright, put the 2 of those in. This is a good place if you have any questions on this reel or any reel. If you leave those questions in the comment section, I do try to answer those. And I do try to answer them in the morning before I go into the shop. So if you're watching this and it's the evening, I will try to get you an answer on that in the morning. All right, bring that one back. Bring this one back. Getting close to solving this now. So it's all about a bush fix. On a lot of these old reels, you need to find alternate ways when your parts are no longer available. This is just one of the ways that it can be done. This is a oil port here. If we did not put the oil, or did not put the grease onto the shaft when we installed that bridge sleeve, you could go ahead and put oil there. Okay, we're going to tighten this up by hand. I need to find my handle wrench. Tighten that down. And there was a set screw. It's going to fit in the little scallop section of that handle screw. Put it back in. Give it a test. We'll see how we did. I heard that clicking before. So we're in casting mode. This should spin free and easy. It does. Again, you can adjust that in and out. It's nice and quiet. All right, we're going to go into main mode now. Make sure that that rides, and listen to that click. I said that little Mitchell 300 anti-reverse spring with a little modification is going to provide an excellent flat lever spring for your Penn Beachmaster reel. That's it. That's how to service this reel and how to use a bush fix to keep this one fishing for a long time to come. It also shows you the correct orientation and sequence for the drag washers. This one's ready to go fishing again. I hope you've enjoyed that. I want to take a moment to thank our police, fire, safety, rescue, EMTs, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank everybody for watching, all of the folks that have subscribed, and well, all of the viewers that are looking on right now, trying to learn a little bit more about fishing. I did want to test the drags. They're working fine, so you can back them off now as a good practice between your time on the water and when that sits in storage. This is Dennis for Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.